Right now on Denver 7 News, a police officer wounded in a deadly shooting spree is being recognized for her actions. Hear from her about the day she stopped a shooter.
During the pandemic, food delivery apps have become more widespread and popular. How that's helping people who live in places with limited access to affordable, nutritious food. And at-home health care continues to be in short supply because of a lack of workers. The new solution connecting people with services similar to those of a rideshare.
Plus, more concerns over students fighting in Cherry Creek schools, why parents say the district isn't doing enough. Thanks so much for joining us here for Denver 7 News at 4. I'm Jason Grenauer. A ceremony is wrapping up in Lakewood to honor the multiple officers and law enforcement agencies who responded after a man went on a shooting spree across Denver and Lakewood. Back in December, the gunman killed 5 people and injured 3 others. Those lost: Alicia Cardenas, Alyssa Gunn Maldonado, Danny Schofield, Sarah Steck, and Michael Swinyard. A Lakewood police agent was also shot, but she survived and managed to stop the whole incident when she shot and killed the suspect. Well, today we got a chance to speak to that agent for the very first time. Denver 7 CB Cotton joins us live from the Lakewood Police Department with what she had to say. CB?
Jason, despite everything she's been through, Agent Ashley Ferris says she's grateful that she was the one who encountered the suspect and ultimately stopped him. During the ordeal, Agent Ferris was shot in the stomach and the bullet broke apart when it entered her body. It struck a nerve and temporarily paralyzed her right leg. Despite being on the ground injured, Ferris continued firing her gun, ultimately killing the suspect. Now, close to 5 months later, she can finally walk without a limp. Once she's able to run, she hopes to return to patrol work, something she greatly misses.
Not everybody gets to experience this support and the love that I've gotten to experience after this incident. It's obviously a horrible tragedy what happened, and I can sit around and be mopey about my injuries and, be a sad Sally, but other people lost their lives and I didn't. I was fortunate and I have nothing to complain about. So I think I'm doing great. I just can't wait to be back to work.
Agent Ferris is so positive about all of her injuries and the road to recovery that she still has left. Actually, she got a tattoo to honor the lives lost in this tragedy. And speaking of getting back to work, while Agent Ferris can't return to patrol work just yet, she will return to desk duty come Monday, and she's very happy about that. We'll hear more from her coming up on Denver 7 News at 5. Reporting live in Lakewood this afternoon, I'm CB Cotton, Denver 7.
CB, thank you. More parents of students in the Cherry Creek School District are sharing concerns over the district's handling of student fights. Now, we first told you last month about an Instagram page showing videos of fights happening at Liberty Middle School. Well, since that story aired, more parents have been coming out with stories of their own children being victims of assault. Take a look at this video filmed in March. It shows a boy at his locker getting shoved by another student and knocked to the floor. A school staff employee steps in between those students and breaks everything up. Now, the victim's parent says that employee never reported the fight, and later that day, the same student beat up their child again.
That is a problem to me, especially since the first video. There's a teacher standing right there, confirmed by my son and by the dean that was a teacher. All the teacher did was help my son up and ask if he was okay. Not an email, not a call, nothing.
Now, coming up on Denver 7 News at 6, why some say the district has a problem when it comes to disciplining students. Well, Native and Indigenous college students will no longer have to pay tuition at Metropolitan State University of Denver. MSU Denver made the announcement during a graduation ceremony last week. The university says about 200 students self-identify as Native or Indigenous. Vice President of Student Affairs Will Simpkins says the goal of this initiative is to increase diversity and to make college more accessible to Native students.
70% of Indigenous folks, over 70%, live in urban areas. There are likely folks on the Front Range who have not thought about a post-secondary credential, and we hope they do, and we hope they choose MSU Denver.
Tonight at 6, hear from a student who is a member of the Chickasaw Nation and why she says this announcement has impacted her decision to continue her college career. Well, every year, the Dumb Friends League helps 20,000 animals here in Colorado. In fact, the league has to raise $15 million every year to keep up with the need for its services. And that's why these folks from the Dumb Friends League are taking donations right now through the Denver 7 call center line. And to sweeten the deal, Denver 7 and the Scripps Howard Foundation are matching $5,000 in donations.
And those funds go to help us be there every day for every animal that needs us, to put them through the behavior and medical treatment that they need so that they can be adopted and they can go into a home ready to be set up for success.
Now, the number to call right now is 303-777-7492. The Dumb Friends League does pay to advertise here on Denver 7.
When you get sick, it's still difficult to know if you have COVID or something else. Well, a new test for that will soon be available. The FDA has approved a LabCorp test that can tell if you have COVID, 2 different types of the flu, or RSV, a common respiratory virus. Now, the test will be available without a prescription. It's a nasal swab that must be shipped back to LabCorp for the results. Now, cost could be a barrier. A single test kit is expected to be around $169. Workplaces have been invested in keeping employees safe from COVID, but there's also new emphasis on total worker health.
Whether they're sick, hurt, suffering mental fatigue, suffering distress of some kind. And in those cases, performance and productivity goes down, absenteeism goes up. This will lead to, significant safety issues, no matter what industry you're in or what type of work you're doing.
That's John Doney. He focuses on emerging issues within workplaces for the National Safety Council. He says the pandemic has brought new urgency to employers around prioritizing both physical and mental well-being. In a recent NSC survey, workers who reported feeling unsafe or very unsafe at work were nearly 3 times as likely to experience clinical diagnosis levels of depression and anxiety symptoms. Feeling unsafe can mean a variety of things.
Feeling comfortable to raise your hand and express an issue, right? If you see something that potentially could cause you or others harm, if you see something that just creates a tingle in your gut and you say, that doesn't look right, that doesn't feel right. Or maybe, conversely, you're put in a position where perhaps you're a minority population, an underserved population, and there's just cultural pressure in the organization in a way that makes you uncomfortable. And that could be direct harassment, certainly. It could be bullying. It could be much softer, much more pervasive and harder to pinpoint.
NSC has resources for employers like perception surveys and cost calculators. It found organizations on average spend more than $15,000 per year for each employee who experiences a mental health issue. But employers that support mental health see a return of about $4 for every $1 invested in treatment. Employees are encouraged to speak up.
Just create that space for even 5 minutes for everyone to say, here's what's on my mind. Maybe it's personal. Maybe I just, I had an argument last night with my family, or my mom's in the hospital, or whatever else it is. You don't need to be specific. You don't need to be a worker saying, I'm going to put myself out on a limb and say, hey, I'm depressed or I'm anxious. You can just say, hey, this is what I've got going on in my life right now. And maybe I should, take a step back today.
It's the message we're hearing from so many parents right now.
How would you explain the formula situation?
Scary. It is downright scary.
The advice nurses are giving, as formula supply isn't expected to return to normal for weeks.
Plus, a large wildfire burning hundreds of acres in southern Colorado. Up next, the latest on firefighters' efforts to contain the Plumtaw fire.